You're watching AvenueX, and today let's talk about 4 ongoing or just finished airing Chinese dramas at the end of June 2024. There are 2 that have technically finished airing. First, a drama that I've already made a video on, that's on Youku period drama, 墨雨云间的 Double. It opened up the pay extra money and then watch before everybody else option. The other one is from Tencent, contemporary drama, also 40 episodes-ish long. And it has also allowed the option this week for you to pay extra to watch it before everybody else. Then you have a drama that's ongoing on Tencent that has started airing a couple of days ago. That is the new adaptation of Jin Yong wuxia novel 射雕英雄传, rewritten and expanded into a so-called 60 episodes drama, but then it's actually divided into different units. Then the last one would be just started airing 2 days ago, 言心计 Follow Your Heart, airdrop drama on iQIYI, 40 episodes period drama, detective/fantasy type of story led by Luo Yunxi and Song Yi. So let's go through them one by one. I'll timecode them here so that it'll be easier for you to find where things are. Let's start with Tale of Rose, 玫瑰故事, directed by Wang Jun, best known to most of my audiences as the director of 如懿传, based on a novel written by a quite famous female romantic novel writer who wrote this book back in 1981. I believe the book is a lot older than most of my audiences. So, as you can imagine, in 2020s, when they adapted, they changed a lot of things. They technically even changed the female lead character's name because in the original novel, her name is 黄玫瑰, literally yellow rose. Whereas this version, she's 黄一梅, is Liu Yifei's Yi. So in a way, it's like showing that it's this actress playing it, but also Yi is a character that can mean many things. One of its meaning is as if or as something, also something. So it is like the original character, but not. It's led by a definitive female lead character played by Liu Yifei, and then a panel of actors, including Peng Guanyin, Lin Gengxin, Huo Jianhua, Lin Yi. Those are romantically related to her, men, and plus Tong Dawei playing her brother. Then other important characters such as her colleague and best friend played by Wan Qian, and then her boss played by Zhu Zhu. Although technically Zhu Zhu is only 3 years older than Liu Yifei in real life. I have to admit, I haven't gone through every minute of this drama. There a section of this drama I intentionally jumped across and not watching because it just adds too much psychological pain. There are a couple of things that performed better than I expected, but then quite a few things also not as good as I hoped. When I first saw the trailer, I thought it's gonna be a really pretty drama. Then when the drama actually started, when you go on Tencent, whichever option you pick, even if you pick the Dolby Vision, it just looks meh. It doesn't look as good as trailer, particularly color, like saturation and contrast. I don't know what's going on with the final grading of this drama. And then when it comes to the story, it really gives me the feeling that overall I don't feel it's a drama that's really worth that much of my time and attention and emotional, I guess, investment into it. So I kind of skipped across it. We are in a time that is too far away from the 1980s books style and also values and what type of female characters are put in the center in a novel compared to these days what usually gets put on screen. The discrepancy is too big, so when you adapt this type of older stuff, you basically have to rewrite everything. And then it begs the question that apart from keeping the names and certain character configurations, what are still there that has anything to do with the original? And do you still want to get tied down by the original, or do you just want to just kick it and then do completely your new stuff? And then why do you need to even adapt it in the first place? I feel this drama fell into this difficulty of it definitely cannot be authentic to its original work, otherwise it would just be completely out of place in 2020s in its values and how you view a central female character. But then it cannot fully kick it away. And it also jams the story into weird timing, where the book is set in 1980s, and then the story in the drama starts early 2000s. So that's 20 years later than the book's setting. And now we are 20 years later actually situated in time for real in 2020s. You can really feel that discrepancy of they're trying to make the story more progressive and more independent women-centered, but it's not yet really that daring and that explicit and critical thinking in its expression of how you then do this type of female-centered story. And then it happens to be happening in the 2020s where we live in this really polarized and weird world. On one hand, everywhere people are screaming about rights and stuff and progressive movements. But on the other hand, because of economy and all types of stuff going on, there's this whole trend of things going more conservative and going backward, and particularly in China. So it's a really weirdly situated in time story that you can, as you watch, really sense the dilemma of the people who are telling the story on screen. They're trying to step in one direction, but then they constantly are questioning themselves and stepping back. And in its expression, it's very ambiguous and unclear about exactly where it wants to stand. And then they casted Liu Yifei. It's a very strange choice actually for this character, Yellow Rose. Because if you look at the book, original Yellow Rose is somebody who's beautiful without wild energy. She's untamed. She's not refined and delicate and super pretty and dressed up. She has that wild energy that comes out and shines like a sun and blinds everyone. You can say that Liu Yifei is very pretty, but she's completely different from that type of beauty. She's complete opposite of being wild and untamed. She actually is super refined, however you look at her. So it's a really weird choice, basically. Not saying she's not doing a good job. There are parts of the acting she did, I watched in the early parts of the drama, I got really impressed with. And for that sequence of when she goes crazy and lash out in Peng Guanying's apartment, I got really impressed. It's hard for me to imagine other actresses doing it. But overall, when you think about the whole story as a 40 episodes drama, you feel like it's trying to say it is what it is, but it's not. Yes, it's all very good on paper and in theory, but once you go into practice, you are picking a very unique person who can somehow make this whole panel of things and values and whatever she claims work, because she is she, and she's actually already super privileged, like from the moment she was born. And the fact that she's just given this body and face that 99.99% of human beings don't have. You always know that it's there, and if it's not her who's just already starting way ahead of most of the other normal people, it's not gonna happen the way it goes down if it applies to other normal people, you know. So that always is there. I guess earlier, before the drama aired, I had higher hopes for it. I hoped it could be something that I at least would want to chew through it every episode and enjoying it. It definitely is not something that I would want to rewatch. I'd pick other things. If you're just enjoying looking at pretty people, there are plenty of pretty people in this drama for sure. And one thing I don't think you can argue is, as a very pretty woman, Liu Yifei as a female lead character, she really does sell the character setup. You're like, yeah, it convinces you why the men in her life would act that way towards her. And you cannot say that for a lot of other Chinese contemporary dramas these days, who unfortunately just forces every supporting role to emphasize that the female lead is super pretty, but then it kind of only exists in their lines. Then let's talk about 墨雨云间 The Double, just finished airing on Youku if you pay extra money. I pretty much did what I said in my first review, which is after I did my first review, I skipped it quite a lot. I kind of know the important plot, but then I didn't bother to spend every minute watching it. It really is a stitched together, super short drama in horizontal frame version, runs 40 episodes constantly with a lot of exciting things happening, but then none of them actually link together to make any logical sense. Very consistent from first episode to the last. This is already, unfortunately, in today's Chinese drama land, the better bad dramas. As for the ending, actual episode 40, the last bit, I just laughed at it because it could end there. It could just be happily ever after, married, all done and good. But they have to add a war that's breaking out on the border or whatever, and then they have to send the male lead out, and they have to do this open ending thing that's artistic, and I feel like the director just really loves wind blowing in people's face in slow motion. He just wants a highly poetic, conceptualized, not specific, ambiguous, God knows what's going on, pretty sequence in his mind to end the drama, so he did it. I watched the video. That's also somebody who comments on this drama, and she's a quite well-known commentator on dramas and literature, and she's very sharp and very quick. And then she did this very concise interpretation of this drama that I find it's absolutely funny. Her video is on Bilibili. I'll put the thumbnail up. She's called Mao Jian and it's quite well known. Anyway, there are a couple of things she said using metaphor to describe what 墨雨云间 or generally what Yu Zheng's drama tend to look like, which is basically when other crews, other stories are still kneading their dough, Yu Zheng's 饺子, Yu Zheng's dumplings are already boiled and cooked and ready to serve. Although those dumplings have no fillings, but at least there are a lot of them, they're very hot, and they show up the first, so that you can just swallow them in one go, and maybe it's not delicious or nutritious, but then it fills you up quite quickly. And I'm like, that's just such an accurate description. This is what 墨鱼云煎 is. Huge plate of hot, steaming, fillingless dumplings. It has its position, let's say, in the home market, and in certain ways it can be very entertaining. Then let's talk about the 武侠 drama. 60 episodes, although it gets broken down into 3-4 different dramas. And first we get the big one. That's the 2020s version of 射雕英雄传. First thing I noticed is the color is again very weirdly graded. They are desaturating it, making it very yellow. This year is weird. People just grade everything into the warmer end of things for no good reason. And they have a section at the beginning of this drama when they're talking about Guo Jing, this character, getting trained as a kid. That's clearly shot in a studio. Fake desert. The lighting and the desert is so fake, and then it cuts to the next scene where technically they're geographically still in the same region, but it's no longer the desert, and it's actually shot in real environment. Forests and whatever. It's a very jarring experience. First episode I got literally taken out of the story multiple times because of the very fake looking desert thing. Being a 2020s adaptation of classic Jin Yong novel that has been adapted since 1980s, 90s, we have 2000s, 2010s, so many versions. At this point, I kind of don't get why they're making it. If you say every generation of people needs their own version of Jin Yong, it still is too often happening. Think about the most recent ones. This is 2024. 2017, we had the Yang Xuwen and Li Yitong one. That's pretty fresh still till today. Then you go back a couple of years, it's the Hu Ge Lin Yicheng one, which isn't that far away from now either. And then you go back, right? You start to go back to early 2000s when Zhang Jizhong started adapting Jin Yong stuff into mainland China, and that one was with Zhou Xun and Li Yapeng. We have too many in the recent 2 decades. Do we need another one? And what extra value can you add on to this? I just cannot see it. And in this version that I watch, it kind of proves my point is no extra value in any department can this one add to. The 4 young actors who are playing the 4 main characters, they kind of are fitting their characters. Like if you're saying typecasting, then they're casting very accurate type of actors for those roles. But are they surprisingly better than any previous casting? No. Average out, their performance ability is less than the previous generations compared to say the Yang Xuwen, Li Yitong version, and then even going back to the Hu Ge version and further back. So I really cannot convince myself about the validity of the adaptation in 2020s. It also doesn't have a very high budget. You can tell that they're just doing a very average period drama that's like any other period dramas that gets done today. So again, production value, it doesn't add that much on top of that. Then this is a wuxia, so does it do better in the fighting department, on-screen choreography, and all the visualization of the book fighting that Jin Yong has written? Unfortunately, this is happening in 2020s where we really have a very regressive quality of wuxia. We just don't have that many professionally trained actors who can fight on screen. And choreography is also overall declining quite rapidly in its quality. So compared to older stuff, it's actually worse. So thinking about everything I can think of to validate the remake of a Jin Yong story right now, this drama is just not proving that it's worth doing. I mean, I do get a little bit surprised by Ming Dao playing Hong Qigong, which I surprisingly find it's quite well done. And then Meng Ziyi playing Mei Chaofeng makes a lot of sense, although it's funny that she's played Mu Nianci before. But apart from that, there's like very little you can say about what's worthwhile. Jin Yong's novels is very specific to its time, and it had its heydays in the 80s, 90s, early 2000s, adaptation mostly happening in Hong Kong. And I think right now is just not the time to resurrect it. And this genre runs into a very difficult situation to get reborn because it's so tied down to ancient China, culture, and time. It's not like Sherlock Holmes, originally in Victorian England, that can get adapted to contemporary Britain, which is what Sherlock did, right? That successful series of dramas, because it's a detective story, essentially, and it's 2 men's relationship detective story, you can move it anywhere in time. But 武侠, it's so specific. It's tied down to a time. It's very limited what freedom you have and what you can do. Even when the director of the current 30 episodes version is actually Yang Lei, who's a very good director of Three Body and 红色, still though, the script quality, casting, and the ability of Chinese dramaland industry right now to do wuxia is just not there. Finally, let's talk about 言心计, which has just started airing 2 days ago, and it has aired up to episode 10 as I'm sitting down making this video today. Is it watchable? First thing, original voices for all the people, and then it becomes a problem because it shows who is better at doing it and who is not. Song Yi definitely is the strongest line deliverer, and she does do theater performances quite a lot, so you can easily tell. In comparison, Luo Yunxi becomes weaker. Then in comparison, Cheng Lei becomes even worse. I think he needs to get dubbed. He doesn't know how to use his voice, and his shouting way of speaking his lines really bothers me in terms of getting into the story. Second, as a detective drama, it's quite boring. And the male lead is breaking cases and trying to figure out things, but it's progressing extremely slowly. You can say the first 10 episodes really is just about one big case that still really hasn't fully gotten broken by the end of now, episode 10, they still haven't found who is the bad guy behind all the bad things. And then this is actually based on a Korean drama. They bought the copyright of that setup, but then everything else is different. Because the original is a contemporary drama and it's talking about the female lead character who keeps changing into different humans. So they took that essential setting of the female lead every month changes her appearance randomly with her period coming up and she cannot control that. They take this into the period setting story, and then the male lead is given the problem with he cannot recognize faces. He has an injury when he was younger to his head, causing him to not be able to distinguish human faces. Supposedly that setup should be milked quite heavily and playing really unique configuration of romantic relationship and comedy. Unfortunately, even though they paid money for this setup, they didn't use it very well. I'm like, if I have a romantic story I need to write about this really weird paired up couple, I would so milk this setup. I would try to figure out and imagine all kinds of scenarios to put these two people in to push their romantic story forward, to make everything really funny and interesting, add a lot of comedy and a lot of expected and unexpected. Just imagine with the setup. There are so many funny, unusual, and unique things you can do with it. Yet this drama up to episode 10 really haven't done that much with this setup. They really wasted it. They didn't milk it at all. You get this lukewarm narrative of a story that has a female lead and a male lead. They have most screen time, but really apart from that, there's nothing interesting happening. It looks okay, like a typical iQIYI drama, but apart from that, nothing worth talking about in its looks. Luo Yunxi still has more eyeshadow than the female lead. It's weird. And then he is still very skinny. And Song Yi is already very skinny. But in comparison, when they're standing next to each other, you really feel Luo Yunxi is skinnier. It's an idol period drama, and I don't know, it just doesn't quite work for human brain configuration to have the male lead standing next to the female lead and you feel like she is stronger and bigger. I don't know what it will work for and who will get it, but it doesn't work for me. I look at that, I'm like, not fun. Watchable, but not fun at all. And it's 40 episodes. I sincerely, honestly don't know what they're gonna do for the next freaking 30 episodes. And I doubt, from what I can see in the first quarter of this drama, that suddenly miracle is gonna happen for the next 3 quarters. So it is just there, you can go and watch it. It probably won't get offended, but unlikely to get any highly valuable entertainment out of it. So these are the couple of dramas that either have just finished airing or still ongoing or just started that I am watching in a way. A lot of boredom, a lot of pain, a lot of waste of my time, and a lot of sadness. As a Chinese drama reviewer, by halfway mark of 2024, literally nothing has happened. I have managed to slip into Korean drama land for a while because I got so bored. I managed to pick up some Apple TV series, which, I wouldn't say it's the best drama out there, but I at least enjoyed it when it was ongoing, which is Sugar. And then I slipped into checking out some older movies and also revisit all the Sherlock days and re-chew Eric and Charles from X-Men. Constantly just slip out of Chinese drama land for the first half year. I feel very bad for sounding like a whining old lady these days on my channel constantly about what I talk about. It's a very sad situation. And I literally dive into Mentor Pilot's channel and watch all the air crash investigations he talks about as somebody who lives in Canada who needs to travel back to China and fly. I apologize for not being very positive and happy on my channel all the time, but it would be faking if I am happy with Chinese drama and with its current condition and stuff it has. Very surprised that you're still sticking with my channel and you're still somehow listening to me talking about Chinese dramas. You guys are the best and marvelous, and I hope you all have a great whatever day you check out this video on, and let's pray together that Chinese drama at least is going to give us some good thing in 2024. We have only half a year to go. You have to try harder in Chinese drama and impress us. Thank you for watching AvenueX. Please take care. I'll see you in my next video. Meanwhile, live long and happy drama.